Does sin have an expiration date? Like, you check the milk and it's good until then. Like,
good question.
Does sin stop being sin after 20 years? Today we're going to talk about nostalgia and what that has to do with sin.
Ooh, nostalgia.
Join Man Talk.
Be a good one.
Next. All right, so what do you think? Does sin have an expiration date?
No, it doesn't. But you use the word nostalgia in the intro. I'm a fairly nostalgic kind of guy.
Oh, okay. So when you step on any toes,
yeah. I'm thinking, well, nostalgia doesn't have anything to do with sin.
Okay.
But, yeah, I don't know.
So what do you think nostalgia is, or how do you interpret that?
It's good memories from the past.
Okay.
That you just kind of go back to, like that.
Riding your bike or?
Riding a bike around the neighborhood. A lot of my children's stories I tell are nostalgic from my cousin Randy and Ronnie. And,
I've heard them. They're great.
Yeah. And so very nostalgic. My favorite Christmas present, that electrostatic football game, Detroit Lions versus the Cleveland Browns. It was probably the best Christmas gift. So it's very nostalgic to go back. And I love, it's might be kind of a little weakness of mine to.
Well, here's what I'm saying is, in the news recently is, there's been a big push for, I don't know if you heard about Barbie. There's a new Barbie movie.
Oh, there really? I don't.
Barbie nostalgia, right? Like the oldest girl doll.
Yeah, right.
Right up there with whatever. I'm not a doll person, but but Barbie, this is this nostalgia of, let's go, go see that.
Right, sure.
And what I want to suggest to you is, I think that it's possible that people think that sin has a has a due date.
Yeah.
I mean, I know when I was a kid, like I couldn't listen to the music that I wanted to listen to, but I could listen to 50s and 60s music that my parents listened to because there was a due date for them. So it was just funny. It's like, this is junk.
It was nostalgic to them.
But this is 20-year-old junk, type of thing.
Yeah, good point.
So if I was listening to something that was talking about, behaviors that, not in line with my Christian belief, and it was one they remembered, they'd turn it up. But if it was, they would blame the style of music, which is intriguing too. It's like, it's the guitars and the drums. I'm like, well, you had guitars and drums. You just like those guitars and drums. So
the message is the same.
Yeah, exactly. So what I think is funny is I think the devil is really aware of this, and he does this, whether if you go back every 5-10 years, what was 20 years prior to that date that was a cool thing, they recycle it. So for a few years ago, like when I was a kid, the cartoon that everybody was watching was Transformers. Well, 20 years later, Transformers. And you're like, oh, well, that's kind of strange. Why are they doing that? Because they understand that nostalgia sells and that we have a due date on sin.
Yeah. Wow.
And so we pass it.
Yeah.
The problem is then you have this issue with generational sins.
Yes.
What I'm saying is
your parents, most parents have done that, so it's not just your parents, but this music, listen to this music.
So lust, when you had to find it in a magazine, is no different than lust and you find it on a cell phone.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
Or any other type of thing that's pulling you away from God, that's really hurting you.
Yeah. Like a movie we enjoyed as kids back in the day, to whether we would watch that movie now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And what they'll do is they do spin-offs, right? And so you're like, oh, a spin-off, and you'll watch it because it connects you to something that's old,
right?
And then you're okay with it.
And it brings us back to doing an enjoyment that we had,
right? Because it connects us to a time in our life that we really thought was amazing.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Which is kind of messed up.
It's
genius in a very sinister type of way.
Yes.
And so, I mean, I'm not suggesting that all nostalgia is bad.
There's all kinds of good stuff, right? I mean,
like the Bible is pretty nostalgic.
It is pretty nostalgic. And we refer back to it all the time, right?
Right. No, that's what I mean. Like,
what is it like? You guys went to Israel to kind of be that feel nostalgic about.
Yeah.
That's the Mount of Olives. Oh,
right.
I didn't know it was so close to Jerusalem.
By the way, here's one of my premises. There's no due date on sin, but there ain't no due date on the fruits of the Spirit either.
Right, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
It was just as pure back then as it is now.
Yeah.
And so what I'm saying is I don't think time should give us a pass.
Right. It doesn't. It cannot. There's are there certain movies that you watched back in the day that you would never watch today?
Yeah, well, here's a good example, okay? And I'm not trying to promote any of these movies, but just to give an example.
Right.
But when I was a kid, I used to watch Rocky movies. I loved the underdog.
Sure.
He used to, and the whole movie the whole movie he'd get beat up, and then the last 3 minutes, somehow he beat, clearly wins.
Yeah.
But anyway, the theme song, and also you hear it, you just kind of, you're excited about it. But now they have these next generation videos or movies that I've never seen that refer to Creed, his buddy / enemy in the original Rockies. He dies, and then there's this kid. Now, what's intriguing about it is like I have no interest in watching that for different reasons.
Yeah, right.
But if you crank up the last 2 minutes of Rocky beating up the Russian, you're like, hey, let's watch that. Because again, you're I don't know why, but the devil is successful of saying that, sin has a due date.
That's okay.
You've already seen it. It's comfortable to you.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is whatever it is that it's either pulling you closer to God or not, make that decision.
Right. For instance, I was a Detroit Red Wings fan, and there was a big battle between the Colorado Rockies. And when a certain fella that had it coming to him got his due.
Yeah, Claude Lemieux. I totally know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And that was just so fitting.
Yeah.
It came up the other day. I was looking at some old Red Wings highlights, and that came up, and I started to watch it, and I'm going, man, it's just not right.
Yeah, why are you so excited that a guy's getting pummeled?
Yeah, and so I turned it off, and I'm thinking, and initially I'm going, oh yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah.
But then as I watched it, I'm thinking, no, this is
right. You're trying to work through it,
right? And so nostalgic, yeah. There is an expiration date, or there wasn't one with me, but then I don't know what it is. Maybe it's my walk with Christ that just said, this is not right. It's not where I want to be.
Here's what I'm saying, because you can dismiss this, or if you're watching this right now, you can dismiss this easy and just say, "Oh, these are two old guys. That, they're out to pasture and they don't get it anymore. And they're a legalist or whatever."
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to say that. I'm not trying to go anti anything. Right. What I'm trying to say is, I'm personally wanting to be pro Christ. I'm personally wanting to bring the things into my life that will draw me closer to him. And I realize in my life I have a massive blind spot, or the door is wide open to nostalgic.
Right. That's very
sins.
good. It's very good. There's a passage that 2 Corinthians 5 somewhere in there. I don't know where I remember, but it says, behold, all things have passed away, and all things have become new. Old things have passed away. Yeah. So I think it's true. When we are Christ, a lot of those old things pass away, but the devil tries to bring them back in. Mm-hmm. And he wants us to be focused on the new, on the new life that he's given to us.
Yeah. And so that's the struggle. I guess the challenge for this man talk is just check to see, hey, Lord, is this something that's getting a pass in my life, something that's affecting me, hurting me, could be hurting the next generation, my kids.
Yep, right.
Like that's getting, that's wide open because I saw it and it's not a big deal. And so I wink at this sin because it's 30 years old.
There's a passage in the Bible about that too, right?
Right. Well, when God talks about idolatry in the Ten Commandments, so he talks about visiting the iniquity to the third and fourth generations, saying essentially if you don't get victory over it now, your kids, your grandkids, your great grandkids are going to be struggling with stuff. And they're gonna the further. I mean, think about this: the stuff that was being played in the 30s and 40s would have freaked out great grandpa.
Yeah.
So can you believe what they're showing? Whatever that movie. Yeah. And what happens is we watch it. that it's 100 years old, and we go, there's nothing wrong with that.
Right. Yeah.
But yet it's just.
But the message is still the same.
Yeah, we've just gotten numb to it. Yeah. And so if it's good, we're again not anti-nostalgia.
Right, exactly.
I'm saying if it's good, roll with it. But if it doesn't pass the Philippians 4:8 sniff test,
right.
Then maybe you should throw it out with the milk. It's best. It's,
exactly right.
So
exactly right.
Anyway, well, hey, that's this episode of Man Talk. We got 3 rules, Man Talk.
We do. The first one is to love God with all your heart.
Right. Love everybody.
And duct tape fixes everything.
Everything. This morning it fixed duct tape. Helped me with my dryer. I actually use duct tape on duct work. It really fixes everything.
That's probably where the original name came from.
Yeah. So check your laundry vents today. That's a little shameless house tip. Have a great day. Thanks for watching.
See ya.
God bless.